Welcome back to DAGryffyn Hobby. My name's Dave. The last few days I've been working on my control panel and also some illumination, both interior and exterior, for some buildings on the layout. Okay, well, it certainly doesn't look like much, but I'm still in the figuring out what the heck I'm doing and the mock-up stages. So there are things I want to do that I need to just figure out as I do it. I now have two powerhouses. The larger one on the left is for the main outer loop, and the other one is for the main inner loop. So both of those have powerhouses and power masters so that I can control both TMCC and conventional on it. And then the other two loops are controlled by a trusty old ZW. Now the ZW has 4 channels, so I'm powering 2 tracks with the large handles and 2 accessory circuits with the inner handles. I have one more transformer, and that's this Tech 2 that I'm using as a DC power supply. I'm going to use that to power any of my DC LEDs for building illumination. I was just going to use this Tech 2 transformer, but I realized I needed a couple of different power supplies for different things I'm trying to do. One of the things I wanted to power is my beacon. And if I have that on the same circuit as, let's say, that billboard there, when I operate the whistle, the beacon's gonna dim, and that would annoy me. So the circuit that the beacon is on at the moment, that's the only load on it. Anything that I have accessory-wise that I want to power with AC like that, I'll put on that circuit. The billboard at the moment is also on its own circuit, but that's because it doesn't just have lights, it also has a whistle. If I had that connected to the same circuit as the beacon, every time I hit the whistle, the beacon would dim. As it is, you can see the LEDs on the billboard dim a little when I activate the whistle. Which may or may not show up on video. The building illumination I was working on was on this train station and the water tower next to it. Now, they both have interior and exterior illumination. It's a little hard to get a good shot of it. The exterior LEDs are a little bright, and the interior ones are, well, a little dim. But you can see the station and the tower both have exterior lights. Now, the way I wired them, I can have the inside lights on and the exterior lights off, or I can turn the interiors off and have the exterior lights on, or both on, both off, depending on what I'm trying to do. But you can kind of see the whole building is kind of illuminated, coming through the walls and whatnot. So I'll have to paint the inside of that or line it with cardboard or something just to keep the light from penetrating the wall. Now, on the station, I put thin sheets of plastic for window glass. It does a decent job. I do want to reposition the lights inside, try to get a little bit better of a look. At the moment, it's still kind of in a mock-up stage, more or less, and I do plan on redoing it. In order to control those interior and exterior circuits, I have this panel here with a couple of switches on it, and they operate the interior and exterior lights. The other 3 on that panel aren't hooked up to anything yet, but I'm sure they will be. The switch to the right of that is for the whistle. This just happened to be the switch I have. I can turn the whole billboard off, light and whistle, so that way nothing. Or I can turn it on. Now the lights are on, and the whistle can be operated. Yes, this is an absolute disaster, and more likely than not a fire hazard, but I'm trying to figure out just what it is I need and how I want to wire things. This is not how I want to wire it. I'm actually looking into 3D printed blocks that I can use, and then I'll be able to custom print any size or combination I need so that I don't need to go and buy a whole bunch of distribution blocks to get the power routed the way I want it to. The way I have it now, I have wires from the transformer running back to this block here, and that block is under the back left corner of the layout, so that will enable me to power the whole back corner and whatever else is on the left of the layout. The wire running over here, and then, where is this at? You know, at the moment, I can't remember. But that wire comes up here, feeds the station, runs back through and comes up under the water tower. The tower's wired to the station's wired to the block. And they operate kind of as one. So you can see I just shoved this cardboard in here with some lights taped to it. And I have this really embarrassing jumble of wires here. But I'm still trying to figure out how I want everything to work. So I'm just kind of winging it until I have a better idea, and then I'll do something more permanent. I'm just happy to have some lights on the layout. One of the things I'm concerned about is this truck back here, because I believe it's supposed to get 5 volts, and the power that's running to the station right now is just about 15 volts, because that's what the fixed DC is coming out of that transformer. I also have the ability to use variable DC with the throttle and power things that way. I'm just not sure if I want to run that as a circuit or do something else to power some of these lower voltage things like the pickup truck. I think that's the only one I have, but I'd like more. They're pretty cool. That block under the layout will power this section, whatever I end up doing with it. I do want buildings back here, but I don't really know how I want to set them up. But that can be done another day. It's just nice to have some semblance of a plan. Now the buildings that are here along the center, I will run another distribution block just underneath there, and then maybe do a similar thing that I did with the station and run the wires up to one of the buildings and kind of chain it from there. I'm still playing with it and trying to figure out, you know, realistically how it will work. I was trying to get this diner hooked up, but it seems the smoke unit has quit on me. So I have to replace that or make something. I was looking online today on how to build my own smoke units. My initial thought when it came to making my own smoke unit was, can I do it cheaper than the 20 bucks or so it would cost to buy one? And I started looking. Now, I don't think it will be any cheaper, but I did find a cool video about making a custom fan-driven smoke unit. So I might have to give that a try and put that in the diner. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with the lights, but there's my 3D printed water tower. And I need to run wires to the lights for the big Menards bridge back there. I've got 2 power strips for my power sources. The TMCC ones are plugged into this bar, and the other items are plugged into this other bar. I don't know that it matters, but I felt like separating them just in case it did. I've got the TMCC base and the power masters up here, the ZW, and the DC transformer. This is the switch panel that I'm using to control some of the lights. I bought 2, just because why not? You run power and ground to it, so that way the lights will illuminate on the switches, and then you can feed the power off that middle stub there. And so far, I'm happy with it. I think these are intended for 12-volt systems, but I figured that's close enough, and probably plenty strong to handle what I'm going to do with them. This switch is actually recycled out of a cigarette lighter adapter for emergency lights that go on top of a vehicle. We hardwire those lights to the vehicle, so I had that switch and I figured that might be a fun thing to use. This looks like a jumble. I know. Power from the ZW and the Tech 2 both come here and then feed whatever it is they're going to feed. We got the ground, individual power supplies. I think this is the one that's switched for the billboard, or the yellow one. I think the yellow one switched for the billboard. It doesn't matter. I think that's probably internal, external, billboard, and then, yeah, something like that. And then the DC comes from over here and out. Now, something to keep in mind if you're going to be setting up any sort of control center and you want to use TMCC, don't get a metal cart. The metal will interfere with the signal. You're much better off with wood or plastic. Unfortunately, I already have the cart because when I bought it, I wasn't going to do TMCC. So I've got them up on top on a piece of wood at the moment. I will probably mount the TMCC components on their own shelf under the layout, and that way they'll be closer to the track and further away from the metal rack. So that's just something to keep in mind if you were going to be doing something and might end up using TMCC. Don't use a metal rack. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time on DAGryffyn Hobby.